Hello, welcome back to episode 15 of Plat'n, a mini milestone today. You love to see it. Today we're going to be looking at Tomadom64. They have 52 platinums. Congratulations on the big 50 milestone Tomadom. Their first trophy was in Ape Escape about 6 years ago, I believe. But their first trophy was their first platinum trophy. First error of the video. We're off to a great start. Their first platinum trophy of the video of their account was Lego Dimensions about the same time, about 6 years ago, I believe, which is quite an interesting first platinum in that it's Lego Dimensions. Now, before we jump in, if you'd like your own account looked at, do leave it in the comments below, or shameless plug-in is shameless, join the Platinum Standard. We're actually 3 people off of 150. It's a community of trophy hunters, for trophy hunters. Post your plats, talk trophies, boost. It's all good fun in there. And anyway, let's jump into Tomadom's account. Alrighty, and to start us off, we have Alex Kidd in the Miracle World. This is obviously part of the Alex Kidd series. Alice Madness Returns is next, which is a really, really good game. I actually wish we got like a remaster or a sequel to this. This was like a twisted take on Alice in Wonderland. You had a lot of the classic characters from the book, but sort of twisted and turned. I believe this one in particular was quite dark, because there was one in the original. The original was like in the early 2000s on the PC, and then I believe this one follows Alice being in like a mental asylum or something. I don't want to spoil things, but there's an event that happens in the family that puts her in there, and she returns to Wonderlands, and it is very, very twisted. Ape Escape, this is the remaster of the classic PS1 one that is now free on PS Plus Deluxe, I believe. Ape Escape 2, this was actually the first game that you got a trophy in back in 2016. Wow, it's crazy to think that 2016 is so long ago. That's when I started university. And I had hair back then. We then get into, a couple Assassin's Creeds. Given that you've only got 52 platinums, the Assassin's Creed to plat ratio is juicy. I love to see it. We have Brotherhood at 100% on the PS3 in August of 2022. You were racing those server shutdowns, which I believe have been extended to October the 1st. I know that I changed them in the server shutdowns in our Discord, but yeah, those have been extended if you still need to do these games, I believe. Assassin's Creed 2 is next, also on the PS3, also in August. This one doesn't have any multiplayer trophies, but very, very good game. The introduction to Ezio, which Brotherhood then personally, in my opinion, perfected. But both absolute heavyweights. And then you got Assassin's Creed 3 done on September 1st of 2022, which is right before those servers were also supposed to close. So Tomadom, expert work on the mass rushing of server shutdowns at the end there. I can't wait to see Killzone Shadowfall below. I'm gonna bet on it right now. We're absolutely going to see that. And then you can see that Liberation is also here with 3 of 45 trophies, which are going to be the 3 multiplayer trophies that were also chasing a server shutdown. In fact, scrap my conclusion there. Assassin's Creed Revelations, also in September of 2022, also racing those server shutdowns. You love to see it. You're a man with a plan, and I love to see it. Revelations being probably I would say the weakest of the Ezio trilogy. You go to Constantinople, or modern day Istanbul, as Ezio, as an older man, sort of looking for the teachings of Altair, I believe is how the story is sort of portrayed. You meet Yusuf, and Yusuf is love and life. Yusuf is an amazing character. But yeah, it was sort of, I think it was sort of, because it was pocketed between, I think we had 3 Assassin's Creeds back to back to back in sequencing years. We had Brotherhood came out in 2010, maybe. Revelations came out the next year, and then 3 came out the year afterwards. So it must have been Brotherhood 2009, Revelations 2010, 3 2011, I think. It was around that time, and they're back to back to back. Brotherhood being a heavyweight, 3 being one that everyone was madly hyped for. So Revelations kind of just, even though it was a good game, it was just kind of pocketed in the middle there, which is a shame because it's a genuinely good one. It's one that I plan on doing hopefully very, very soon myself. I recently went back and did the Brotherhood Platinum myself on the PS4 because multiplayer. Moving on, we have some Batmans here with Arkham Asylum, the first of the Arkham trilogy, Night City Asylum spin-offs being Origins. Very good game. He plays Batman going to Arkham Asylum, believe it or not, to stop Joker's outbreak at the prison. You meet some classic characters in Bane, Killer Crocodile, all those fun ones. You get a lot of combat challenges, which are pretty rough, not gonna lie. I would actually say I know that Asylum has probably the highest completion rate of the quadrilogy, I guess I'll call it, because I'll count Origins as a mainline series, even though it was developed by someone else. I would say that it's actually got one of the harder combat challenges, in my opinion. I'm very bad at it. I found that I definitely needed assistance from mates, but yeah, I found the combat, because it's a lot more clunky, it hasn't been quite as refined as, say, Night. In terms of base games, I actually find that one quite difficult. Obviously, the DLC in City and Night is a nightmare, but see what I did there. But yeah, in terms of base games, I would say that Asylum's probably one of the harder ones. So congratulations there, Tomadom. You smashed that out in only a week and 2 days. We then have both Telltale Batmans, both very forgettable. When I was kidnapped by the mysterious man and forced to guess my own platinums, those two definitely caused me trouble. I thankfully got them right. I remember something to do with the first game in the series. There's a pretty cool plot twist in that one. But the second game, Enemy Within, I have no recollection of. You could not ask me a single thing about that game other than it has Batman in it. Breeder Homegrown Director's Cut, I'm gonna say easy peasy, just on the hour and 56 minutes for the 91.40% completion rate there. We've got a Bubsy here, Bubsy being a classic of the PS1, I believe he was. The Woolies strike back in 3 days and 23 hours for an 8.57% completion rate. That's quite a good one there, and you always love to see 100% when there isn't a plat being completed, because I know, and I'm definitely guilty for it, I know a lot of people will look at games like that and go, it doesn't have a platinum, it can just go in the backlog and I will get to it at some point, and then they are just forever buried. We then have two Call of Duties, neither complete. That Tomadom, we need to have a talk. Infinite Warfare was probably the COD that got crapped on the most at launch. This COD, I think if you go and look at the like to dislike ratio of, which I think you can't do on YouTube anymore, but if you were to do that several years ago, or use a Wayback Machine, the dislikes outnumbered the likes by like 10 to 1, which is insane. And I actually think it's hilarious, because that Infinite Warfare's Zombies is one of the best in the series, in my opinion. The campaign is one of the best. If you liked Titanfall's campaign, you will like this campaign. And the multiplayer, you don't have to do for the trophies. There's one trophy for doing 5 multiplayer matches. You'll get it done in 20 minutes. You know, if a match goes for 5 minutes, 25 minutes, there you go. So I actually love that COD. I want to go back, and I do want to get that platinum at some point, because 1.15% ultra rare is juicy. So maybe I will prioritize that one. And then Modern Warfare 2019 remastered, the remaster of the original Modern War series. You're seeing some characters, some classic characters like Price brought back. They're made into probably a little bit more fleshed out characters realistically. Some of those levels are quite unique. The night vision meshing comes to mind. Also, the second one is being released, I believe, this very month, September of 2022, or it could be October. I'm not entirely sure which one, but I would definitely say Tomadom, if you were to go back and do a game, that's a really good one to clean up, because A, it's an E rank. B, you complete in less than a day. I believe I did it in 12 hours or something. So it's quite a cruisy one. You don't have any multiplayer, although the multiplayer in that game is pretty fun, in all honesty. So yeah, I would say that's definitely a good one to pad up. It'll definitely help you with your completion rate. It seems like you care about your completion rate, because I know that you have an 89 point, I've forgotten the decimal, but I think it was 3-4% completion rate. So I would definitely say this is a good one to go back and clean up, because it's a genuinely fun game as well. Same with Infinite Warfare. We then have the Crash Trilogy, all 100%ed, which is amazing to see, because some of those relics and time trials are not easy. I briefly tried to play the first game on an alt account. I got to the high road, I think it was. It was the one where you had to climb the wall, and you had all the tribal dudes and the fire braziers to jump, and I think there was turtles as well, because turtles up a wall, why not? And it was just miserable, so I put it down, but a lot of people love Crash Bandicoot. I'm also old and my reflexes suck these days, so that's big sad. Now I'm gonna have to go have a cry. But definitely impressive to see the Crash Trilogy there. I'd be interested to see if you plan on doing 4 at all, or maybe tag team racing. Is it nitro fueled or something? I'm not entirely sure what that racing one is called. But congratulations, those DLCs, Stormy Ascent. I think the other one might actually be called the High Road. I'm not entirely sure. But very, very impressive. Congratulations there. Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. This is going to be a do I call it a JRPG? Do I go for the JRPG, or do I look at that 41.32% and call it a visual novel? I'm going to go with visual novel. I'm sure the comments will let me know if I'm correct. We now play the game of when Symmetry is confused, he just slaps JRPG on things and hopes for the best. It's very successful. As a professional certified trophy profile review critique, it's a very effective way to go. But I'm going to say Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. That's a cheeky visual novel right there. My logic is 41.32%. Those things are always quite high. 2 weeks and 1 days. I'm guessing there's like 58,001 endings. But congratulations on the 100% there. Do let me know if I'm thoroughly wrong. We then have Fighting Vipers. Believe it or not, this actually doesn't involve snakes, but it is a relatively cruisy fighting game at the 47 and 2 second time, and also another 100% with no platinum. So congratulations there, Tomadom. You love to see it. We then get the first God of War, only 6 trophies. Only 6. That's kind of surprising. A lot of people adore the first God of War. I think the third one is probably my favorite. I would say, Tomadom, if you wanted to play a God of War, the third one's probably the best one to do. There is, of course, God of War 2018, which is a very, very good game, but a very different style of game from the originals. I would say that's also worth playing, especially with Ragnarok literally around the corner. But I am surprised that the God of War is only 6 of 36 trophies. I'd be interested to see why you put the game down. We then have the original Infamous. One thing I also want to point out that I quite like about this account is we're seeing a lot of PS3 here, because we're now going into the original and good Infamous games here, with Infamous 1, 2, and the standalone DLC 4 to Festival of Blood, the one with the vampires. It's actually very, very good. The original Infamouses were great. You played as Cole, as he slaughtered or saved his way through the city. I'm trying to think what the name of the city was, but I can't quite remember. I think it was something weird like Block City or something. You had to do 2 playthroughs for each of these games, one as a good character, one as a bad character. There were quite a few decisions in the story and in side activities that sort of would sway you to or from both of those sides. You might get some emergency supplies, and you could either keep them for yourself or you could give them out to the people in need, and these would affect your karma system. It was quite in depth for the time, in all honesty, especially given that I believe Infamous came out in like 2008. The first Infamous is obviously infamous for the shards, there being 150 of them, them being not marked on the map, them being very easy to accidentally go over, collect as you were exploring, and then when you went back for cleanup being thoroughly confused. I did that on a original on an account I had a decade ago on the PS3, and I remember trying to find some of those shards for a very long time. Infamous 2, in my opinion, definitely took the formula from Infamous 1 and made it a lot better. I wasn't as big a fan on the change that they did to the main character Cole. They sort of made him more of a person, but I kind of liked the edgy sort of style to him. As a dude who literally just got superpowers, him being very, very angsty was quite an interesting take on it, as opposed to a goody two-shoes like Spider-Man, for example. I'm sure I've pissed off like half my audience, but Infamous was definitely a great series here, and Festival of Blood was, in my opinion, one of the better standalone DLCs of all time. I actually really enjoyed that one. I liked that it took vampires and made them pretty cool in an era where Twilight was a thing. So props to Infamous, and props for the 100% series completion there for the PS3s. I would definitely be interested to see if you plan on doing the 2 PS4 games, those being Second Son and First Light. Next up, we have the Jak Trilogy. No Jak Combat Racing, however, but the first 3 games, the only 3 mainline games, actually. It's interesting that they never... This is one of those series that's quite interesting, and Sony does do this, that they never brought into the future consoles, because obviously we had Sly Cooper on the PS3. Jak was almost like the precursor big headlining trilogy on the PS2. It's interesting that we get this nearly every generation, although, however, I can't think of a PS4 version of this. But you also did it in a way where you didn't use the debug in Jak 2, so that's always very impressive, completing it in a week and 1 hour instead of 30 seconds. Obviously, you can use the debug menu in Jak 2. You can load it up and essentially just pop all the trophies from a menu, which kind of defeats the purpose of spending money on the game, in my opinion. But yeah, very good completion right there. We then get into, holy smokes, we then get into the mother load of Kingdom Hearts right here. Wow, very, very impressive right here with Kingdom Hearts number 1, Kingdom Hearts 0.2, Birth by Sleep, A Fragmentary Passage, Kingdom Hearts 358/2 Days, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, I think that's the second one right there, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories, and Kingdom Hearts Recoded. That is honestly very, very impressive right there, and all done in very good times. The first game took you a year and a day right there. I think the next longest one, if I scroll through, is 11 months and 3 weeks. The rest of them, however, are all within a month, which is very, very impressive there. I know that these games usually have very, very grindy trophies. They might require you to collect everything, a bunch of collectibles, usually some maxing out of stats, that sort of fun stuff. So this is actually... I know we've seen this on at least one other account. I believe Banana Sausage had the max out, or it could have been Jasco. But this is, I think, the 3rd time that we've seen a maxed out Kingdom Hearts, and that is super, super impressive right there. Tomadom, you're getting the Simi seal of approval for this collection right here. Congratulations. That is awesome to see right there. We then get into your first... I thought Lego Dimensions was your first platinum. I'm now curious. Let me open this up. Okay, it was your first platinum. You can see it right here. I'm going to circle my mouse over it. So I'm assuming you came back and did some cleanup in DLC in 2021. Yes, I am correct with the Simpsons level pack. I know this game actually has quite a few DLC, which we will see by scrolling down here. It looks like you also did Doctor Who in 2021 and Midway Arcade. I have no idea what Midway is compared to the others right there. There's an Adventure Time pack. I am learning so much right now. We then have Ghostbusters, some Mission Impossible. What on earth is Lego Dimensions? I mean, I've always written this off, but this sounds kind of cool, not gonna lie. Yeah, so we have a lot of packs right there. We even have a Goonies level pack right there. So that's actually pretty impressive. I love that you have that Platinum 11.46. That's some variety of DLC right there. I actually was expecting to see more Lego games, given that was your first Platinum trophy. But the only other Lego game we have right here is Lego Harry Potter Collection 1 to 4. I would definitely be interested to see if you plan on doing 5 to 6, given that I believe those are bought together in one pack. Lego Harry Potter, in my opinion, is sort of... I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I actually really don't like Harry Potter, but... I think that the Lego Harry Potter games were quite good, and I think they mark the turning point for when Lego games slowly started to go downhill to the travesty that is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which I actually went back and got the Plat'n a couple days ago, so go me woo, but now I'm even more bald than when I started. But yeah, very impressive collection of Lego games right here. We then have Little Big Planet 3 here. You've done some work on it. You've got about half the trophies with the cheeky 41%, but you haven't gone back to it by the look of it. Little Big Planet being, of course, the game where you could make your own levels and upload them, and people could go in and play those levels. So it was a lot of fun stuff like that. We then have Marvel Heroes Omega. This is actually unobtainable, and you can see here the entire thing is unobtainable. So I was going to go in and see what you can't get, but unfortunately you can't get a lot of the trophies. That's kind of sucky to see. I'm sorry to see that, Tomadom. I believe that Heroes Omega was the sort of top-down Party of 4 Marvel game. It was received. I think people sort of just didn't really care. It does have a very impressive 0.99% platinum, but unfortunately, of course, you won't be able to obtain that. I'm sorry to see that, Tomadom. We then have Marvel's Spider-Man. This was, of course, Marvel's big break into video games. Everyone loves Marvel Spider-Man. I really need to go and do Miles Morales at some point. Maybe I'll do a platinum run video on the channel of that. Do let me know if you'd be interested. Open world, you're playing as Spider-Man, you're sooting it through the city on webs. It was actually quite well done. I believe probably the best web mechanics in a game, which is saying a lot because the Spider-Man game on the PS2, I think Spider-Man 2 it was actually really, really good for that. But the trophies were very, very cruisy. This is the sort of game that you would recommend to someone just getting into trophy hunting, where collectibles are quite easy to get and quite fun. You know, you're able to change things like your backpack and stuff like that, which is a lot of fun. The combat trophies are not particularly difficult. The gym, the gang hideouts were a little bit annoying. Finding the random crimes were a little bit annoying, but these were the kind of things that you could just kind of just do whilst going between mission to mission of the main story, which was actually quite a good main story. As someone who isn't a big superhero person and doesn't know any of the characters, I quite enjoyed it. So I assume that a lot of people who do love Marvel got a real kick out of the game. We then have Pick-a-Pix Classic and Pick-a-Pix Color. I have no idea what these are, but they are both... Actually, I do. I think these were like early sort of easier games on the Vita. I think these both came out around like 2014-ish. I think they were kind of just little mini games where you could sort of make things with different colors and stuff. This is reflected by the 70% completion rate for both of them there, 72 and 70 respectively. We then get into Sly Cooper, which, like I was saying with the Jack trilogy, this was like one of the big flagship characters for the PS3. And it's interesting that we didn't get another one. I think the rumor is we're getting it ported on PS Plus at some point in the not too distant future. But this was, you played as a raccoon, you're a thief, you have a gang of characters like Bentley that assist you in it. Think like Uncharted without the ruins and the people, and that's probably not a bad comparison. You've even done the Sly mini games. You didn't have Bentley's hack pack, so I'd be interested to see if that is something you plan on going back to for a cheeky series completion. We then have some Sonic games, and by some I mean holy hell, this might be the most Sonic games we've seen on an account. Wow. We have Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, which I believe Little Paro in the Discord was working on recently. And that is an impressive 1.46% completion rate. I know that this is one of the racing ones that's actually quite difficult, and I believe it is because of the time trials, if I'm not mistaken. We then have Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, another one of the racing Sonic games that is considerably easier to get. But if you think Mario Kart or you think Crash Team Racing, very similar sort of thing. It's very arcadey, so you're not going to go into it and get something like a Need for Speed or a Wreckfest. You're getting more of a Mario Kart. We then have Sonic Adventure, Adventure 2, CD. These are all ports from consoles like the Sega Genesis from the 90s. Sonic Colors Ultimate, I actually have no clue what that Sonic is. Do you know something that's interesting? I'm thinking about it right now. I don't think I have ever played a Sonic game besides like way back on like the Genesis, just one of the really early ones. I don't think I've ever actually played anything modern in any way, shape or form. Sonic Forces, I believe this was free on PS Plus. This is kind of more of the third person semi-open world Basham sort of Sonics that we've been getting since Sonic 06 onwards kind of thing. Sonic Generations, I actually don't know what that Sonic is. Sonic Mania, we've got Origins, the Fighters games here with Sonic the Fighters. You can see here that the Sonics actually vary quite a bit in terms of rarity. Sonic Adventures 2 up here is a 1.86, whereas some of these ones here, like Sonic the Fighters, are 58%, which is quite an interesting swing in the series. We then get Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. These are both ports of the originals, which I think are the ones that I played way back as a wee youngin'. And then we have Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 and Episode 2. I don't believe, fun fact, I don't believe the rest of the episodes were ever released, which is kind of interesting and kind of a shame. Like, I can imagine for someone like you, Tomadom, that's actually quite frustrating because it's blatantly obvious you're a Sonic fan, to have a game like that that promises an episodic format, because this obviously came out when things like Telltale were at their peak of excitement. I believe Resident Evil Revelations was also episodic, so this came out around the same sort of time. They've released 2 episodes and no more, which is a real shame. And then we're rounding out the Sonics here with Sonic Ultimate Genesis Collection, which is the entire collection from the Genesis. So Sonic 1, Sonic 2, some of those again in one little package with the Platinum that I believe was also considerably easier. They sort of reduced the requirements for some things, making things a lot more doable. We then have Sonic SpongeBob Battle for Sonic SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. This is a port of the PS2 game. This is like a semi-open world collectathon. If you think of games like Jak and Daxter, where there's a lot of orbs and stuff to collect, SpongeBob is very similar to that, but they've remastered it for the PS4. It looks very, very pretty. This is another one that I've been meaning to do myself at some point. I believe we got it free on PS Plus in March of this year. It was early this year we got this free on PS Plus. We then have the trilogy of Spyro games. Love to see the completion. These are all obviously ports of the classic Spyros from the PS1 era. You play as a little purple dragon. Again, going on a collectathon, funny enough. It seems like the semi-open world to open world games of that generation were very collectathon-y. Most of what you did was going and collecting a bunch of orbs, doing activities for various characters, and beating bosses, which, now that I think about it, is modern open world games too. Looking at you, Saints Row. We then get Super Hang-On, which I think is a relatively easy racer, just based on the 30% completion, 47% completion rate, but the 30-minute completion time. We then have some Super Monkey Ball. Fallout. This is obviously very, very difficult, so the 2 ultra rares there are quite good. You're essentially a monkey in a ball, go figure, collecting as many bananas as you can over a bunch of platforms. But what makes it interesting is how the camera and stuff tilts to your control. So you're going very, very fast. You're trying to balance the camera. You're trying to be able to see forward. It's essentially a game that really, really requires you to master the mechanics of it and the camera in order to succeed. I watched a very good friend of mine stream this at one point, and I think he went a little bit mad as a result. There was a lot of failing. But you did not fail, on the other hand. You got 2 platinum trophies here, both ultra rare. You'll love to see it. Congratulations. Next up, we have The Revenge of the Shinobi. This is another 100% with no platinum, but a good 1 day, 1 hour, and a 22.31% completion rate. I believe this is sort of a stealthy game from memory. We then have a rare, not completed game on this list in Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist. This was one of the, I believe this might be the last Splinter Cell game, right? And I believe the servers are closing on this very, very soon. This is a game where you play as a spy going into different facilities and stuff to extract information and stuff like this. The Splinter Cell series was a lot of fun back in the day. I remember really enjoying these games way, way back on like the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. I think Blacklist had really fun multiplayer though. I did play this years and years and years ago. I believe this was the one where one team were mercenaries defending 3 points, and the other team was a team of 2 spies trying to go in and steal the information at those points. You had to like get into a ring while staying hidden because you had like no weapons besides a flashbang, and stay in the ring long enough for the extraction bar to progress, and then you would get the information. It was quite a lot of fun to play that back in the day. We then have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. This is a remaster of the classic PlayStation 2 games. You play as a skater doing a lot of different point attack stuff, time trials. I don't think there's an open world in this one at all. I do know that this Platinum is notorious for being a little bit buggy. I do know this Platinum is very grindy. You've got to do things like get to level 100, which is essentially just playing the same maps over and over and over again, of course. I know that I believe it was Nate from Plat'n, shout out to them. He had issues where it like reset his progress or something back to 0, so he had to do the whole level 100 again, which is that is rough. But I've heard very good things about the game too. It's very well polished for a modern skateboarding game, which is obviously something we do not really see anymore. We then have the Uncharted's. We have quite a lot of Uncharted's here with Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, 4 not complete, but I believe this is one you're working on. I think actually a couple days before filming this, your most recent trophy was the speedrun in 6 hours, which is actually one of the trickier speedruns in the Uncharted series. You then have Uncharted Drake's Fortune Remastered, and then the Vita exclusive Golden Abyss. No Lost Legacy, which I'm interested in. Is that one that you are planning on doing in the future? I'm guessing, let me have a look here. You did Uncharted 1 in January, 2 in January, 3 in February, 4 this year in September, the others being 2021. So I'm guessing you are doing them in series order based on that. So I'm guessing that Lost Legacy will come in the future. Uncharted is a lot of fun. You play as Nathan Drake, a rogue who goes into different scenarios looking for treasure, usually to pay off a debt or something like that. It's very Indiana Jonesy. If you took Indiana Jones and you added some Tomb Raider and you made it good, you would get Uncharted. I enjoy all of these. You can see that he doesn't have the DLC in Uncharted 4. The DLC in Uncharted 4 is rough. It's a survival mode that when it released was very, very, very heavily enthused that you pay money to win. You could buy weapons with real money and stuff like that. So you've got to get 3 stars on crushing in every level. A lot of people end up with this game at about 96% completion rate because the last 2 levels on crushing are insane. I know that there are some glitches and stuff like that that you can use to get past things, but it is definitely very, very tricky, and I wish you the best in completing that one last there. And then the last 2 games that we have here are both 100%. This is an account I've really enjoyed because we've seen a lot of 100% where the platinum isn't necessarily what Tomadom cares about. And it's always a nice thing to see that. But we have Virtual Fighters 2 on the PS3. It's a fighting game that takes all of 13 minutes to complete. And then Welcome Park, which is the built-in like introduction game on the Vita. It introduces things like the gyro cam and stuff like that on the Vita itself. A lot of mini games where, you know, you hold the camera up and you can see different objects in your room and stuff like that. I think the Nintendo 3DS had something similar, and obviously Astro's Playroom is the famous one on the PS5, where it's just a free game that's built in that is a lot of fun. You smash that out in 36 minutes for a cheeky 12.29%. And that has been Tomadom's account. Thank you for making it this far. If you did, remember to leave a cheeky like, cheeky subscribe. It lets me know that you enjoy the content. Maybe tell me what you found most impressive on this account. Do remember, if you would like your own account looked at, do leave it in the comments, or join the Platinum Standard Discord. I have a list of all the accounts that you can see where you are on that list. Anyway, I'm gonna call it, and I will see you next week. Tomadom, thank you so much for letting me look at your account. I miss you all already. Goodbye.